Both of you are all kind of pointing at something I think that we should talk about, which is, yes, we have these kind of karmic connections, and yes, we have certain preferences and things that we're interested in, but it's really important to understand that in the context of the tantric path, we're not following our preferences, actually, because we're confused, because we don't recognize our nature. And if we're just following our like what we like the reality is we're only attracted because of confusion towards certain things, right? Yes, there might be some karmic connection there. Yes, there might be something that the guru will also see, the teacher will also see and be like, yeah, you should do that practice. But this is why the teacher is so important, because if we're just shopping the tantric path based on what our momentary preferences are, what our momentary likes are, we're never going to break out of the cycle, because then it becomes spiritual materialism, right? It becomes, what am I attracted to right now? Oh, today I want to practice Chenrezig because I'm vibing super hard on Chenrezig lately and compassion, and I think like Chenrezig is the cat's meow, right? So I'm going to practice Chenrezig today, and then next week, for whatever reason, like I'm totally Green Tar is like she's constantly in my ear, like I can't get her mantra out of my head, like Green Tar is the shit. I got to practice Green Tar right now, right? But like if that's our practice, then the result is Zippo. It's a big old nothing. And so we cannot, that's not how we approach our practice. We have to work with the teacher to identify what the practice should be, right? And that's going to happen. That might not be like, so for instance, that people who received Vajrasattva last year, right? That might not be like, well, they're going to practice Vajrasattva now because you received this one empowerment. You're going to practice that for the next 10 years, right? No, that's not what we're talking about. But you should practice one empowerment for a period of time and get used to that practice. And then have a conversation with Rinpoche and be like, oh, well, here's kind of what's happening in my practice. And I'm kind of feeling drawn towards this thing, right? Like I want to do more completion stage practice. And then working with the teacher will guide your practice rather than thinking that we're kind of in the driver's seat doing shopping around for what we think we need based on what we think we like, right? I think that's really important because I think that's the American tendency, is to think I can just kind of do whatever I want. And like, right now I'm feeling like I want to practice Tumo because, I mean, let's face it, Tumo sounds super cool, right? But then we just practice it halfway. We experience a little bit of maybe bliss in our practice, and then we like realize, oh, actually Tumo is a lot of hard work. I had some experiences, of Tumo. Like I felt like a little bit of inner heat. I felt some bliss. Like, okay, Tumo's cool. That's cool. I'm gonna do some. I'm gonna check out, Dream Yoga. And the result of that type of practice is that there's really no result, right? Because we never actually take anything to its fruition. We just kind of shop around, and that's really not what the path is meant to be. So I do want to caution that, because I think as Americans in particular, we have access to all this information, all these different teachings. Like everything's online, you can figure out anything basically. But if we take that type of spiritual materialism approach where we just like kind of follow our intuition or follow our, whatever's interesting this week, after like 3, 4 years, 5 years, you're just going to get kind of bored, and you'll just, maybe you'll try Hindu Tantra, because Hindu Tantra's got some, different deities. They got some, they add in some like marijuana, so you can add some psychedelics into the mix and like see if those help. Like at that point, you're just kind of making shit up. So if you want to follow a actual authentic practice, it's really important to work with the teacher and just realize that it takes time. It takes a long time. I mean, a lot of the older students here have been practicing, 20 years, right? Like still many of them probably doing the same practice they were doing, 15 years ago. So it's a long, slow path. Even though they call Tantra the fast path, it's really a long, slow path of dedication and commitment.